What's going on, guys? MDLP from the Battle Axe, the Strongman Gym in Miami, where strength is everything. Making a video post shower, so my beard is looking fully oiled and well taken care of, and all that good stuff. Answering a question from one of my online clients that actually worked in some program with me, and he's asking about squat stance, and he was interested in figuring out how I figured out my squat stance and any suggestions for him. He's giving some kind of odd knee pains and back pains, etc. This is just from personal experience. I know there's a lot of theories on squat stance, where your feet go, how your knee should go, where the bar should go. As a strongman, in even powerlifting, I use kind of like a mid barbell squat, where the bar is not very, very high and it's also not very, very low. And I'm saying this because the way you hold your barbell can actually change how you put your feet. It tends to be that if your barbell is pretty high, most people with high barbells prefer a closer stance, maybe more the Olympic squatter or the CrossFitter. As the lower it goes, some guys prefer a little wider. Sorry, it's a phone call. I got a client calling. So anyway, what I would like to touch base on is, when I was a close squatter, I was a little bit lighter. I wasn't as fat as I was now, and getting into depth was no big deal. But I also wasn't squatting very heavy. What I found out is that as I started to get a little bit bigger on the weights, and my legs got bigger and my gut got bigger, a little bit wider of a stance was actually helping me feel better. And I don't have a very wide stance, so that's just me personally. I prefer a little bit closer, about a medium stance. And a medium stance with Olympic lifting shoes has been a blessing to me. I've actually found that I can get into parallel, below parallel a lot easier. I used to be a wide squat stance with Converse, just like what you see the powerlifters do, and it was killing my hips, which has a lot to do with mobility. So how did I find my personal stance and my preference? It's really about trial and error, and that's the point of days like repetition or speed work, where you kind of change your stance up, maybe have your feet pointing out just slightly, not necessarily straight, but just slightly, just a little, and just try different stances out. For bigger dudes with a little bit of a gut, sometimes going a little bit wider allows us to open our knees up and dip below parallel, so that we can get a good stance. But I think it's not so much about what worked for me rather than what we see as a problem with you. So for you, an example, your knee pains and your back pains is probably a lot to do with your mobility. So start checking your IT band, your hip flexors, and your ankles especially are going to take a lot out of your knees, which are going to put a lot of pressure, as well as the weight that we're being squatted. So on days that you're programmed repetitions, try to figure out different stances. See if something that you can get below parallel with a proper warm-up is actually working for you. The cues that allowed me to squat at a good stance and a comfortable stance were less to no knee pain, no hip impingement, and the fact that every week I grew stronger in this particular stance. If you're seeing gains and you're growing in this particular stance, think about staying there before you make some drastic changes. Think about honing the art and sticking to a particular form for a little while till you start to evolve into something different or a parallel move rather than better. I know that a lot of guys out there squat really, really heavy, and actually closing their stance has gotten better. Some guys got better by opening their stance. Some guys got better by not dropping the barbell or going up with the barbell or growing a beard or being handsome in general. So before I give you 1,000 things what works for you, I think the main thing you should think about is fixing your mobility to allow you to explore a better stance or a different stance while you're in that position and while you're doing your work. There shouldn't be any knee pain when you're squatting. Maybe some minor pain if you just have, bad knees. But once you put your sleeves on and you're getting comfortable, you should feel pretty good. So try to think about that. Things that allow you to keep your chest up, things that allow you to go below parallel with little to no knee pain. Work your mobility, work your hips, your IT band, and your ankles. It's a huge one. Donnie Thompson always told me, work your ankle mobility and flexibility, which take a lot of pressure off the squat. So before you fuck with your stance, think about fixing your imperfections. So I hope that helps. Try to look at the really big squatters. The Lily Bridges are ridiculous. Obviously, Super Training has great guys. Dan Green, duh. Even local guys. Look at Pat Wilson from North. That's a bad man. So think about these guys, different squatters, and look at them, train them, ask them questions. Maybe they might give you a different insight in their experience. So hope this helps, brother, and cheers.